into some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you. Kill her, Mommy. Kill her.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
This is my boomstick. Here's Johnny.
I have to return some videotapes. We'll tear your soul apart.
Hello and welcome to All Things Horror. My name is Ben and I'm joined here with Matt. If you're unfamiliar with the show, each week we choose a movie to break down and review, give our honest opinions and rate it from 1 to 10. This week we're going to be talking about The Thing from 1982, but before we do, let's take a quick look at the trailer.
"100,000 years ago, it found its way into our galaxy. Trapped in the frozen wasteland of Antarctica, it could not escape. Now the men of Station 4 have made a monumental discovery. An alien creature had frozen, but not to death. And man,
It isn't Benny.
is the warmest place to hide.
Right. In the winter of 1982, a 12-man research team at a remote Antarctic research station discovers an alien buried in the snow for over 100,000 years. Soon unfrozen, the form-changing alien wreaks havoc and creates terror and becomes one of them. It's directed by the one and only John Carpenter, and it's based on the 1938 science fiction horror novella Who Goes There by John W. Campbell. It's got a good cast. Main cast member is Kurt Russell with R.J. McCready. It's also got Keith David, Wilford Brimley, Donald Moffat. There's loads of them. Well, it's 12 of them. Yeah, runtime of 109 minutes. Yeah, so Matt, what did you think of this film? I'd imagine you've seen it before, yeah?
Yeah, so I can narrow down exactly when the last time I saw it. It was 7 years ago because it was when I got my dog, and I used to sit and watch movies with her because, you know, when you're toilet training a dog, it's like, I'm going to try and stay up late, or, you know, your timings are all off. So we were watching it and she never reacted to any films, but with this one, especially with and we'll come to why the stressed dog sounds and the dog at the beginning, she was howling, like proper howling through the whole thing. She never reacted to anything ever since or before. And she was on like about maybe 12 weeks old or something like that, so very, very young. She was howling. So I remember that specifically. Obviously, I'd seen it before then. Weird relationship with this film. Love John Carpenter, one of my favourite filmmakers of all time. This, and I think I said to you earlier on before we started recording, bit controversial. This might scrape into my top 5 John Carpenter films. I know for most people it would be number 1. I'd imagine for most people it would be number 1, and I totally get why that is. There's loads of brilliant things about it. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to dive into it. Almost impossible to cover everything to do with it. There's so many interesting things about this film. So yeah, I can't wait. So
yeah.
Another good assignment from you, Ben.
I know what you mean with a dog. Well, we'll get to it in the spoilers, but I did think of you during one bit because you mentioned before you don't like scenes with dogs. And
Yes.
yeah, well, we'll get to that. As soon as I saw that scene, I was like, oh, yeah, Matt ain't going to like that bit.
Yeah, it's funny because I forget. I've got such a terrible memory. I remember certain little details, actors, things about the makeup artist or whatever. But the plot of films sometimes I forget. and it's like, oh yeah, I remember now why maybe I don't revisit it as much as, say, I do revisit like Assault on Precinct 13, which is probably my favourite. Like, I'll watch that a lot. And there's a small child that gets shot getting an ice cream in that film. It doesn't seem to bother me. But yeah, so yeah, good assignment. Good to revisit it. More interesting to revisit this than one that I watch consistently. Say, like, I watch The Fog quite a lot.
Yeah.
I really like The Fog. Don't watch Halloween as much as I watch, say, Halloween 3. Which again might make people's heads blow up a little bit. In the Mouth of Madness, They Live, Big Trouble in Little China, are all films I'll probably revisit more than I'll revisit The Thing. Especially In the Mouth of Madness, which has just kind of become one of my favourites for some reason, just recently, the last few years. So yeah, this is going to be cool. Really looking forward to it. What's your relationship with it? Is it your favourite Carpenter, or is it in the top 5?
Yeah, well, I was going to go through his films as well with you, but I'm glad you've mentioned them. But we've also got Escape from New York, which is something that I really love, and
cool.
I love Christine. I really love Christine. Yeah,
I always leave that one out.
Yeah,
for some reason, would it be? I think of Stephen King more than I think of John Carpenter, I guess.
Yeah. But I would say this one is definitely my number one, John Carpenter.
Right. Oh, cool. I had a feeling it is most people's. I think, like, in polls that people have done in magazines and things like that, I think most people would go with The Thing, and I totally get why. It is a very realised idea. Probably his most realised, I guess, in a lot of ways, but maybe most Hollywood as well, because like one of the biggest budgets. But yeah, it's I get why, and I think if it had made like 100 million and been loved straight away, then maybe it wouldn't be as kind of respected and revered now. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have come to it later on.
Yeah, this wasn't well reviewed when it came out, was it? I think
No, even like my favourite reviewers, like Roger Ebert, I always call him Roger Ebert, he really didn't like it.
No.
And said some really sort of strange things about it. I guess there's the possibility that people were like, we've seen Alien recently, we kind of have that in our minds. We've just seen a really cute little alien in E.T. We don't want to see. We're happy with the cute aliens now.
That was that the same year? I know it was around the same time, wasn't it?
Yeah. So like they made. I think the audience has almost made. I think it might have been released at the same time. So audience has made a choice of cute over kind of gooey. Yeah, maybe they're all like me. Maybe they're all dog lovers.
Well, no, this really hurt John Carpenter when it didn't get the release it thought it was going to. I think it really, not only emotionally, but it really affected his career because he was dropped from a few film deals with Universal.
It didn't make enough. It made, I think, what was it, 15 million budget, 19 million worldwide. So it wasn't like a mega hit. No. Bear in mind, like Halloween was made for like $700,000, and Friday the 13th was $700,000, and Halloween was less. Halloween was like $375,000. So, and then to give him 15 million, they're looking for $100 million movie, aren't they? They're looking for like a smash. They're looking for like the next Jaws or something.
You know what I thought about when I was doing my notes for this? When I was going through John Carpenter's work, he's not a very... he is and he isn't, but he's not a very consistent director with his types of movies that he makes.
No. I think people say that there was a run, isn't there?
Yeah.
Brilliant horrors, but I know what you mean. Like he'll do Elvis in the middle of this amazing run of films.
Yeah, because obviously Halloween, that was like, a serial killer film. The Fog was like a ghosty type film. Escape from New York was more of an action-y type film. Christine was about a car, It's very, very mixed with what he chooses to base his films on.
Yeah, because you've got those three that go together, I think, in The Mouth of Madness, Prince of Darkness, and The Thing, that have kind of been retconned as like a trilogy. I'm trying to remember what it was called. I did write it down. There's something like, not the Madness trilogy, or sort of just a sort of, they're all kind of put together. But that's afterwards, isn't it? That's kind of like you can retrospectively make things group them together, but in between, like, say, it goes Assault on Precinct 13, Halloween, then the Elvis biopic TV movie, then The Fog. It's like, even though if you just look at the sort of the big tentpole films there, that's an amazing run. I'm not the world's biggest Escape from New York fan, however, I love the music. He's like the only director I think I would go and listen to him play music in concert. I tried to get tickets in Manchester a couple of years ago to see him, and he was sold out. I can't think of any other director where you pay to go and listen to them play.
Yeah,
he's still making money out of doing that now, isn't he? Like, for other people, like a director live in concert. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, he didn't do the score for this film, did he?
No. So this is, I think, really interesting. So Ennio Morricone got so much hate for this, for doing a kind of knockoff John Carpenter. He got a Razzie for it, got just absolutely slated, but then reused some of the music, or some of the offcuts from this, and won the Oscar in the Tarantino film, The Hateful Eight.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He went completely the opposite ends of the spectrum for the sitting down and making the same sort of music.
I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it kept it quite well put together.
Yeah, I think the key with Carpenter is it's always quite sparse, but it's very. It keeps the tension going. It fits the situation. It is often quite repetitive. So in a longer film, maybe you'll get tired of it quicker. Because this is a bit longer, I'd imagine, than I've not measured them all up, but it feels like it's a bit longer. It does need that. It does need to be longer for the tension, but yeah, it's probably a bit harsh to criticise the music, particularly if you're following a sort of an edict by somebody else.
What did you? Are you a big Kurt Russell fan? Do you like his movies?
Yeah, I think I was probably a fan before I even knew who he was.
Yeah,
like I think watching, like Big Trouble in Little China used to be on TV a lot, so maybe just seeing this cool. He is essentially like there's him and Harrison Ford. They play that sort of same Han Solo type, awesome, the cool guy character. Whereas Kurt Russell's got a little bit more of a kind of element where he can poke fun at himself a little bit more in things. Not in this. This is quite serious, isn't it? He's quite serious all the way through, but it is iconic. He's really good at making his look fit the character, isn't he?
Oh yeah,
like his hair. Like I think he grew the hair and beard for this for a year to get it just right.
Yeah,
which is confidence in itself, because every time I looked at the character and I looked up and researched about McGreedy as a character, it was always mentioning somebody else who was in line for it. It was like Nick Nolte, Jeff Bridges, even Tom Atkins for Halloween 3, like Clint Eastwood, written with Clint Eastwood in mind. So Kurt Russell's just going, it's John Carpenter, he'll choose me again. I'll grow my hair just in case. That's so confident.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad he did. But yeah, I think he fits it perfectly. What do you think? Do you think, obviously, it's a great cast of 12 angry men, and I love that. All, not a massive cast, but they're all there for a specific reason. What do you think about him or the cast overall?
I think the cast was great. Yeah, I think they were great. I mean, I'm a big Kurt Russell fan. I really liked Escape from New York, even Escape from LA, the sequel to that. Yeah, even his normal action films, was it Tango and Cash? I think he was in.
Yeah,
Stuff like that. I thought they were, he was good. I think he's a really good actor.
Soldier. Do you remember Soldier, where he doesn't show any emotion at all? He's like a kind of Terminator-esque or Universal Soldier, I suppose, not up to the Terminator level, but he's even not so bad in that, even though gets rid of all his personality.
Yeah.
It's not a bad... It's not... I wouldn't recommend anybody watch it, unless they were forced to, but he's not bad in it. He's not bad in anything, is he?
No.
I believe he's even a very good Santa Claus, I'm told. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's still going strong, isn't he? He was in the recent Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Of course, yeah. He is consistently excellent.
Obviously, I love my special effects, especially the old 80s special effects. We've touched on this in The Fly and American Werewolf in London. In this one, we've got Rob Bottin. He's a name that I've not really come across, but looking at his work, very respectable. He did RoboCop and Total Recall and The Howling. Great special effects artist. What do you reckon?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, again, if we go to sort of people and the fandom of this film, you've got the people love dressing up and having different versions of either something exploding out of them or one of the creatures. I've seen a few versions of these that people have made because they are so iconic to look at. He really added to that, didn't he? He's excellent. Like you say, doesn't maybe get the credit that some of our other big Rick Baker style names are, but sometimes that might just be down to the case of a bit of self-publicity. Somebody like, say, Tom Savini will write a book and talk about how to do these things and kind of publicise themselves, go to conventions. Some people don't want to do that. Some people just want to do their job, don't they?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's probably why his name slipped under the radar with me. I love Tom Savini, and Rick Baker. And apparently I love Rob Bottin as well. I just didn't know it.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, now you know you do.
Yeah. He worked with Carpenter before. He worked on The Fog in 1980.
Yeah, he was really confident. In fact, he said something like, I think he said something to when John Carpenter was getting a bit stressed. He said something like, "You'll feel a lot better when we put the gel on it. Like once we put that kind of goop onto it, you'll feel it will come to life." I think were his exact words, and he was right. And again, you can see that certainly in some of the first RoboCop film as well. That kind of, I wonder what that is. That gel. I wonder if it's just literally just throwing Vaseline at the thing. But it's not quite like they got that consistency. I don't know what it is, but it works, doesn't it? I mean, also he was in his early 20s when he did this, so to have that confidence and say, "Oh, don't worry, John, it'll come to life when we put the gel on it," and he's probably thinking, "I bloody hope so." Yeah, it's a kind of a nice little marriage another little marriage that they've got. He's done some of the other films as well, hasn't he, with him? So he's obviously did well enough on this one.
Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes scored it 84,
right,
and an audience rating of 92. But
that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's definitely interesting. Just because I suppose Rotten Tomatoes is. The internet wasn't around in 1982.
Yeah.
Does it? And I don't know enough about it. Does it aggregate reviews from the Times? I suppose that's an audience one, but does it aggregate reviews from critics from the time, or is it modern reviews or sort of retrospective reviews?
I don't really know, to be honest. I don't know how they score it.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, like, say, for instance, Empire, they sometimes have given things 5 stars, say it was the new Star Wars film, because they've got all excited, and then gone back and kind of quietly knocked it down a star. I wonder if that kind of affects Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. So, last thing before we jump into the spoilers, what kind of recommendation would you do for this movie? What kind of people would you aim this at?
I think if you like sci-fi horror as well, if you like sort of Event Horizon, or Alien, even though this is grounded on Earth, it's got that same isolated feel, which I love. I love anything where people are just sort of trapped in a situation. Like I even watch like the old Abominable Snowman films where people are trapped in, snowy places. Obviously, this is similar to that kind of thing. So yeah, if you like that sort of thing, if you like sci-fi horror, it's not a starter one because there are some quite, if you're an animal lover, of course, I don't think anything terrible happens. I know that the dogs, to get those noises, the sound recordist ran through and smashed like pots and pans against the door and recorded them, so did stress the dogs out, which does upset me a little bit, and obviously it upset my dog. She knew what they were saying, probably something like stop hitting those pots and pans against the door. So if you like that, it's a film for you. I think if cinematography wise, it stands out, doesn't it, as well? Like it's beautiful to look at, so visually really stylistic. However, if you were to watch this, because I sometimes do that, I'll watch a film and go, it'll look like every film that this cinematographer does will have a similar look. Dean Cundy's not the guy for that. Like, he's done Psycho 2, amazing film. Don't care what anyone says. Halloween 3, amazing film. The Fog, it's quite similar to this. But like, he did Roger Rabbit, The Mandalorian. He can switch his styles. So it's not one of those... It's more... if you like John Carpenter rather than you like the cinematographer or the let's say the soundtrack or something, it's if you love John Carpenter film. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what
yeah.
yeah.
You just touched on the cinematography and how you can get some really beautiful views. Most of this was filmed in LA, was it? Was it only just a few shots? I'm assuming the outdoor shots obviously were filmed. I don't know where they were filmed, but I know all the indoor shots were filmed in Los Angeles sound stages, and they actually refrigerated them down to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not sure what that is in Celsius, but yeah.
Oh, I'm confused already. Yeah.
Really?
Because I'm terrible with all, old measurements, new measurements. This is why I teach English.
It was really cold.
Yeah, really cold. I was expecting that. Yeah. I got that. Very cold.
Yeah,
I wrote down very cold.
Sound stages were refrigerated down, and that's why you can see their breath in a lot of the scenes, because it was really that cold. But apparently, Kurt Russell, before some of the shots, he used to take a puff on a cigarette just to make it look like it's even colder.
Oh, wow.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I think as well with that, I think it is British Columbia, and I think that and this is a bit of a strange one. There's a guy, I know this is kind of going off topic a little bit and maybe more into trivia, but just while you were talking about where it was filmed and things like that, Stuart, British Columbia, the biggest collector of all Thing memorabilia, Todd Cameron, he went back after 21 years and found some of the remains of the outpost, some of the helicopter rotor blades. I actually saw those at a convention, and he was so keen to show them off. They just literally belong to him now because he just went there and found them, which I think is fascinating. So, you couldn't replicate the outdoor bits, really, could you? It has to be somewhere realistically that looks like that. I guess you could now with those sort of 3D Mandalorian-style sound stages where you don't really have to have anything there. But for me, this looks like they're really marooned in the back end of nowhere.
Oh, I've just Googled it. Yeah, it's British Columbia, and they also shot in Alaska as well.
Right. Oh, okay. So it must have been that a lot of the props were in British Columbia because that guy found them.
Yeah.
they were just like, let's just leave this. Nobody will ever find them.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Pingu, The Thing?
No.
It's so good. Just YouTube it later on. Pingu's The Thing, or The Thing Pingu. It's amazing.
Fingu.
Yeah, exactly. They missed a trick with that one. But yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna have to have a look at that later. Cool, right. Unless you got anything else you want to add, should we jump into the plot and start spoiling it?
Yeah. Yeah. Probably already have already.
Spoil it some more?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Spoiler warning.
All right, let's get into the plot. In Antarctica, a Norwegian helicopter pursues a sled dog to an American research station. The Americans witness the passenger accidentally blow up the helicopter and himself. The pilot fires a rifle and shouts at the Americans, but they cannot understand him, and he is shot dead in self-defense by Station Commander Gary. So yeah, it's a good opening scene.
Yeah.
What did you think of it? The helicopter scene.
I really like the titles. I'm not going to talk about the dog running away; it upsets me. But no, the sort of the animation cell inside a fish tank covered in smoke with like a burning bin bag behind it.
Yeah.
To create that looks amazing. I know it's trying to kind of hark back to the 50s original film, and it's really cool. Yeah. The thing from another world, is it called? I think, or something like that. Yeah. Thing from another world. So it looks dead classic. It looks really classic straight away. I really enjoyed that. The shooting at the dog, I was a bit like, come on now, the dog's not got a gun. That's not fair fight. Or opposable thumbs. Maybe that's the reason why this isn't in my John Carpenter top, or he's hovering around my John Carpenter top 5. So yeah, the opening's good. Again, it's straight into action, isn't it? Like a lot of our sort of 80s, mid-80s films that we talked about before. Get straight into it.
I was going to say, I didn't mention this bit, but you get a bit of CGI at the beginning where you see the spaceship like go towards Earth. Yeah. Did that remind you of something? That opening scene?
No. Is it Star Trek?
No.
I don't know.
No, it really reminded me of Predator.
Oh, okay.
Because you get that same kind of shot in Predator as well, don't you?
Right.
You see the spaceship. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I know this is kind of a bit of a stretch, but the editor did, and the reason I said Star Trek, the editor did Star Trek the Motion Picture, which for me is one of the slowest paced, most boring, and I love Star Trek, one of the slowest paced, most boring of all the Star Trek films, and I'm going to try and revisit it soon and see what I think. But like, as now I'm a bit older and I have a little bit more patience, maybe, or maybe less patience, who knows? But it's that kind of beginning of revealing a ship or revealing something that it's quite a slow reveal, isn't it? And then it goes straight into... Yeah, I'd completely forgotten about that, to be honest. That's why I said straight into the action, because I completely forgot
about that as well, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
So traumatised.
You see McCready playing chess, or Chess Wizard, as it's called.
Yeah.
Computer game of chess.
It's a bit flirty.
And then he loses the game and just destroys the computer by pouring his whiskey... Is it whiskey? No, scotch. He pours his scotch directly into the computer.
Yeah, he's like, cheating bitch.
Did you?
Whoa, come on now, McCready.
Do you recognise the voice of the chess wizard?
I looked it up because, and then I thought I won't even say because it's somebody you'd rather talk about than me.
Adrienne Barbeau. Oh, yeah.
And John Carpenter's. I don't know if she was wife at the time. Maybe she was. I think she was at the time, but obviously not now. But yeah, at the time.
I think they were at the time married. Yeah.
Yeah. I was more interested in the pinball machine. I love pinball machines, and I was like, that is a cool pinball machine. Like, and I was trying to remember. I think I may have made this up, but I know that there is a lot of horror themed pinball machines. There's an arcade club in Bury, and I'm sure I saw a Thing pinball machine, and I was like, I wonder if they made that because of the reference to the one being in their little rec room. So yeah, I was more interested in that than I knew you'd be interested in the. I thought he was quite flirty with her until he just threw his toys out of the pram.
Yeah. You do get a few throwbacks, don't you, to remind you of exactly what year this came out. That being one of them. You see one of the guys, I can't remember the name of him, but he's just rolling around on roller skates everywhere.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that actor T.K. Carter, stand-up comedian. I read this in I think it was in Empire, maybe in another movie magazine a long time ago. And I remember thinking it was around the time I'd watched it again. That he was called out, John Carpenter, for the way he'd written that character as a black character. It was like he was like going shit and rolling around on roller skates and like kind of a bit stereotypical jive talking character. And the person who called him out for it was auditioning, and John Carpenter was kind of sat there, took it in, didn't give him the role, didn't change any of it, and just hired somebody else. So it's just like he didn't take that on board. And now watching it, I know what you mean. It's like, look at him shooting around on his roller skates. Yeah, it's like almost like a bit like the stereotypical jive talking characters in Airplane, where you're like, oh, it's a bit. Now that wouldn't fly at all. Again, no pun intended. But like, yeah, that just wouldn't work. So it's almost laughable, really, isn't it, when he comes flying in on his roller skates?
Yeah.
On Stevie Wonder as well. Stevie Wonder's playing.
Oh, yeah. The other bit as well is Blair. He's on his computer later on, where he's doing like the simulation, is it, of what will happen to humanity.
He just tells you exactly.
These three little like pixelated blobs just go beep, 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 getting closer together.
And it devastates
oh my
him,
god!
Yeah. And it comes up and it just spells it out. Like, you don't have to be a genius to understand this technology. It literally tells you, it's like, in about this amount of hours, we're all buggered.
Yeah.
Like, we're all dead. Which I thought really good fun. Also, we've got a link to last week as well. We've got, instead of specs, we've got other people who get attacked for wearing glasses. We've got windows. It's like, okay, people wear glasses, deal with it. But I believe that was the actor. The actor came in and was like, you're calling me Windows. So we can't blame John Carpenter for that one.
We'll wait for the next one when they got four eyes.
Yeah.
That'll be a 90s thing, won't it?
Yeah.
Maybe in
Or
Scream.
it'll be Windows, but it'll be like Windows 98 or Windows XP or something.
You see the sled dog wandering around, and you see him head into one of the guys' room, but you don't see who it is. You see like the silhouette of one of the guys who it is. I think throughout the whole film, it does do a very good job of not knowing who it is at any given time.
Yeah.
Or if it is, when they've got it.
Yeah, it's almost like Agatha Christie in the sense of it's not really super deep to the point where no one can work it out, but it's interesting enough for you to kind of work it out as they work it out.
Yeah. It's been long enough for me to not remember who it is.
Yeah. For me, it's like a fortnight. I'd watch it again next week and feel like, oh, I didn't realise.
I feel like I want to rewatch it again with a pen and paper and try and take notes and see like, okay, well, he went off here and then he did that then. You
could have one of those little pin boards like the Charlie Day meme with the,
Where were you at this time?
Yeah.
The American helicopter pilot R.J. MacReady and Dr. Copper leave to investigate the Norwegian base. Among the charred ruins and frozen corpses, they find the burnt corpse of a malformed humanoid, which they transfer to the American station. Their biologist, Blair, autopsies the remains and finds a normal set of human organs.
Under a bit of gooey meat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you get some... well, it's like the first actual time you get to see it, don't you? Like, what it is.
Yeah, and it's like there's no messing with the autopsy. It's just like, let's get into an autopsy straight away.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that, like with just in regular life, like somebody drops dead and the doctor and like they come to take away, like, do an autopsy right now, like in your living room. Let's go. Yeah, lots of
the actual organs that they're using in the autopsy are like real animal organs, like they're real.
Okay. No, you can't get realer than real things, I guess. This is when you start going down the lines of it's a good job it's animal stuff, I suppose. Obviously, they will have all died by natural causes. Better than real human remains. then we're getting shut down, and rightfully so. Yeah.
I think when Macready and Dr. Copper are walking around the burnt down station, they did a really good job of properly showing how cold it is, because you see that guy that's sat in the chair who's obviously slit his own throat, and you see like the frozen blood that's dripping. Yeah. It's like mid drip, it's been frozen. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah,
maybe this is what he was saying. Our friend Rob. Our friend Rob Botton, and how he was like saying about, when we put the gel on it, it'll come to life. Well, having said that, this character's dead, but I think I know what he means. Yeah, with things like that, it looks kind of frozen. In that case, frozen goo.
This humanoid is the one with like the contorted face. Is it two faces or one? I can't remember.
There's definitely the two-faced one that kind of is the iconic. I think that's later on. I think that is later on where it splits up. I could be wrong.
Is it? I can't. Yeah.
If you're listening on YouTube, write that underneath. Stuff, tell us when it happened.
Yeah.
Put it in the comments.
So Clark kennels the sled dog, and it soon metamorphoses and absorbs several of the station dogs. This disturbance alerts the team, and Charles uses a flamethrower to incinerate the creature. Blair autopsies the dog thing and surmises it is an organism that can perfectly imitate other life forms.
Yeah, very quickly. He's very smart, isn't he? Works that one out.
Yeah.
And I think that's everything actually is... And I'm not sure if John Carpenter said this or I'm paraphrasing, but something along the lines of everything is a scientific process of elimination. It is not like a slasher film with teenagers running in a million different directions and accusing everybody. And yes, they do accuse everybody, but it always comes back to kind of a blood test, an autopsy, something from a computer. Like, these are the things that set them off on their paranoia. The science doesn't really help the paranoia and doesn't calm them down, but it leads what they're doing more than kind of just blindly accusing each other. There's a bit of that. There's a bit of that too. There's a bit of that fear, isn't there? I think for me, if you look at this as 80s sort of fear of the unknown, fear of AIDS, and like the AIDS epidemic and testing and being with people and can I do this, can I do that, and asking all those questions and the big horrible scary AIDS adverts that there were at the time. If you think of that places the fear in a perfect kind of understanding of how they feel. And the 50s ones just replace AIDS with communists. And then you've got exactly the same kind of fear, but for different reasons. So I think that's real. Like, for me, it places it that there's a kind of tangible feel of people at the time who aren't trapped in ice stations. It's like there's a kind of grounded in a bit of realism. I just think that's really, for me, that's really interesting. And maybe adding things into it that weren't there, but sometimes things reflect the times without even knowing it. So I just think that was really interesting. But I know I've kind of digressed a little bit, but it does kind of tie in with that, like you were saying, the computer and the kind of starting to do the autopsies and understanding. There is a kind of science-based thing, but just because science is there doesn't mean that people don't behave like people.
Yeah.
Like it's real. Yeah, Sorry, we'll keep going. But it's fine. I've literally gone off at a tangent about that, but I just think it's fascinating.
So this is what I was talking about earlier when I was thinking of you. That scene with the dogs in the kennels. Was that a hard watch for you, was it?
It was a hard watch for both me and Marcy, my dog, because she reacted in exactly the same way. She didn't howl this time, but she was looking at the TV and really responded. And now she's seen so many films and been around so many films, it doesn't bother her. But for some reason, it was again. And I think that does go back to how they stirred up those scared noises from the dogs. So I think it is quite disturbing. It's disturbing, full stop. There was one of the characters, I can't remember which one it is, I get mixed up with all the 12 characters' names, but he really doesn't want that to happen, and he's having to be held back. And I was thinking, yeah, even if I knew it was an alien creature, I would still need to be held back, because I'm just like, no, not the dogs. Let's test them all individually.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was tough. That was a tough watch.
I think the character you were on about, I can't remember his name. What is his name? Oh, Clark. I think Clark is who you're on about.
My guy.
Because Blair talks to Clark afterwards when they're in the kennels, just those two together, because Blair realised that dog wasn't actually put in that kennel till quite late. And he's been asking him questions like, how long was you alone with the dog for? And he was saying about 45 minutes or something like that. So yeah, I think Clark was getting a bit paranoid then with the questions that Blair was asking him. Yeah,
it's the first kind of doubting of a character, isn't it?
Yeah,
and we get
yeah. Throughout the film, you're kind of looking at Clark, thinking, I don't know about this guy.
And he was just scruffling the dog, and he's like, goodbye, and that's put him right in the firing line, really, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Firing line. In the line of fire, I guess.
Data recovered from the Norwegian base leads the Americans to a large excavation site containing a partially buried alien spacecraft, which Norris estimates has been buried there for 100,000 years, and a smaller human-sized dig site. Blair grows paranoid after running a computer simulation and indicates the creature could assimilate all life on Earth in a matter of years. The station implements controls to reduce the risk of assimilation. So, what exactly does Blair do? What kind of scientist is he? Because it seems like he can do everything.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure of the roles of everyone. Everyone seems to step into everybody else's role as and when. All we know is that, Kurt Russell is an amazing pilot, and they can't live without him, and he's the hero. And then there's, doctors who are interchangeable with other doctors, and people who just kind of hang out.
It was like Blair, you've seen him stitching up wounds. He's all of a sudden he's a vet because he's injecting the dogs that were in the cage, and he knows an awful lot about shape-shifting aliens. And
yeah, he's an expert in that. I was going to say a lot of them will have been in Vietnam, and I think that Kurt Russell did a lot of work on that hasn't made it into the film, but beforehand maybe added to it, that they're kind of all used to kind of being in war zones and sort of mucking in and getting involved and helping out in situations that aren't their jobs.
Yeah. So
it's kind of like a hangover from Vietnam. So maybe that's why they're all kind of doing things that they wouldn't normally do. It's just grab hold of that and, hold his leg on or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little bit of that.
I'm assuming, have you seen the prequel with the same name, The Thing?
I have. I remember nothing about it. I thought it was an interesting way of coming at the story, better than a straight-out remake. But it was lacking in something for me. But I did think it was like if I was giving it a score, I'd probably say it was like a good 6 out of 10. I don't think it was a bad film.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've only seen it once, but I did enjoy it. But when I watched it, I didn't know it was a prequel. I just thought it was a straight remake.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
When I first saw it, yeah.
But
So it's a nice surprise in that sense.
But they are the Norwegian base, is that right? It's been a while, but
yeah,
I'm assuming these Norwegians that they're talking about, that is those in the prequel.
Yeah, and maybe they, is it Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character is just that American they need to sort all everything out.
Yeah.
And I guess with it being a prequel, we know she doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to go for super political on this, but yeah, that kind of tells a story.
The remains of the malformed humanoid assimilate in isolated Bennings, but Windows interrupts the process and Macready burns Bennings' thing. I like how it just says thing at the end of everyone's names.
Like nobody wants to get their thing burned. Nobody. It's regardless of age, gender. No. So yeah, it's I'm not sure. Is this the part where we've seen Dog Thing, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen the dog thing. See, the dog thing, I would say, is up there as one of the most iconic of all, like the first one we see.
Yeah.
Definitely. But then you've also got like the when Macready. I always say Macready. Macready. I won't say Macready or McGeady.
It looks like Macready.
There we go. That's how I'll remember it. Thank you. Kurt Russell. No, he's got when he goes to the crash site, he's got his iconic costume on, and I'll send it to you. Maybe you'll post it on the Facebook. There's a guy who did an incredible version of that in For the Love of Horror this year. The even to the frosted beard a little bit. it was really, really good. So yeah, got a few of those. There's some iconic moments in this section of the film, isn't there?
Oh yeah, definitely. The team also imprisons Blair in a tool shed after he sabotages all the vehicles, kills the remaining sled dogs, and destroys the radio to prevent escape. Yeah, Blair goes pretty crazy in this bit. Just smashes everything he can see. He does not want it getting out. No. And is this where it comes up and says 27,000 hours from Earth infection? Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be like, hey, I was going to say, hey Siri, but I'll say my, tell me how many days is that? I'd be like, we'll get my calculator out before I'll go insane. Yeah. But yeah, it's like, was it 70-something% probability?
Yeah.
That someone on the crew is infected.
I think it totaled to about 3 years, didn't it? Is that what?
Right.
Yeah.
You have to go mad straight away. I'm sure there was people coming out with predictions like that with COVID, and then going like, "We've got about 3 weeks." So yeah, it's like this is a good advert for J&B as well. You see Macready with it, Macready in. Yeah, with a few bottles of that hanging around as well when they go to get him and everything goes off.
You like I said earlier with Clark, always kind of keeping a little eye on him. There's something that happens here as well when Blair's smashing up the radio room and they're all outside getting ready and. He says to Clark that he's killed all the sled dogs. You see a little bit of worry in his face, and he just kind of runs off to the dogs. You see that? Yeah. There's a kind of like a bit of panic. Like I'm next. You see when they take Blair to the outside shed to kind of lock him up. He says to Macready, "Make sure you watch Clark very carefully." Yeah. So he's gone full Torrance at this stage. Yeah. Like he's proper. And it's weird for Wilford Brimley to be playing this character. Like it's almost like it needs some cool young sort of Nicholson-esque person for going mad. Usually somebody going mad and smashing things up is quite young and vital, and in this case he's just kind of
just an old fella going bonkers and throwing things about. And they lock it, like I say, they lock him away, and you can imagine him just writing all over the walls or something.
So, Copper suggests testing for infection by comparing the crew's blood against uncontaminated blood held in storage. But after learning the blood stores have been destroyed, the men lose faith in Gary's leadership, and MacReady takes command. The power goes down, leaving... I struggled to say this guy's name, and I didn't say it very much. Is it Fuse? Fuse?
Oh, Fuchs. Fuchs.
Fuchs.
Yeah.
Fuchs.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
because there's no other way of saying that would, you know, would be less offensive. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fuchs.
So the power goes down, leaving Fuchs in the dark. He grabs a flare and heads outside to find MacReady's torn clothes. Yeah, things are getting a bit tense here. Lots of arguing, lots of accusations. Who's in charge?
Yeah, we're still following the scientific approach, but we're coming apart at the seams, aren't we?
Is there anyone at this point in the movie where you're thinking, oh, I bet he is?
Honestly, I was just like, well, it can't be Mac. So options are open for everyone else. I don't think I was suspecting. I'm not one of those people who like wants to solve the mystery. I just kind of sit back. I wouldn't be a very good detective. I just sit back and let it unfurl, kind of thing. I'm pretty sure it's not Mac, otherwise I would have remembered. Because that would be a twist, wouldn't it? You'd be like, or if you knew right at the end that he had it, and there was no way of him, getting away from it, like blowing himself up, kind of thing.
Mm. So MacReady, Knowles, and Windows. Man, there's some funny names in this film. MacReady, Knowles, and Windows head out to look for Fuchs. They find his burnt corpse, but they suggest maybe he did it to himself to avoid being assimilated. Windows returns to the base while MacReady and Knowles investigate MacReady's shack after noticing the light is on when it should have been off. They were gone for roughly 45 minutes. During their return, Knowles abandons MacReady in a snowstorm, believing he has been assimilated, and after finding his torn clothes in the shack. The team debates whether to allow MacReady inside, but he breaks in and holds the group at bay with dynamite.
Yeah, I love the outside scenes, especially with the flares. They're really striking, aren't they?
Yeah.
I literally all I wrote from it, I just think you just explained that so well. I literally just wrote, Fuchs is fucked. Yeah, we just had a discussion about him as well. But yeah, they literally have imploded, haven't they? They're all like, yeah, they're all like, if you're going to turn on Mac, then you'll turn on anyone, because if anyone's got leadership potential, it's him, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
He's full on got like proper beard now as well, like proper cool beard. And he's their best chance of survival. Like, listen to the guy. It's like, why is nobody listening to him? But like the dynamite standoff is pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, very tense. Did you know?
It's like a cowboy sort of feel to it.
Did you notice just before that bit, when they go out and they check on Blair, it was never spoken about, but did you notice the noose that was hanging next to him?
I did, yeah, I did.
That was a bit odd.
But I didn't really think much about. Yeah, it's like, how's he fashioned that?
Yeah.
They put it in with him and just hope for the best.
Yeah, here's a noose, just in case.
Yeah, we've got your drink, your food, your noose. Here's a book. Yeah. Where he says, where Mac says, I'm calling him Mac now, he's a light sleeper. That's the only real thing left related to this Vietnam PTSD kind of thing in the script that was kind of left in there. When they go and bother him and tell him to come outside and what have you, and then it all goes to, it's like, oh yeah, I'm a light sleeper. That's the only thing. which is amazing, really. But you do get that he's been through a lot.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need him to explain that. It's fancy. Yeah.
So during the encounter, Norris appears to suffer a heart attack. As Copper attempts to defibrillate Norris, his chest transforms into a large mouth and bites off Copper's hands. MacReady incinerates the Norris thing, but its head detaches and attempts to escape, but that also gets burnt as well.
That's quite comical, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
it is.
funny.
Yeah, that was quite funny, that scene.
It's a bit like there's parts of like in Basket Case, or maybe the Basket Case sequels where the little head is running around. But any film with little heads running around is always funny.
Especially when it's like under the desk and it's just peeking around the corner to see.
Yeah, it's just like that. Yeah, that is quite. Yeah, I think that's one of my favourite bits in the film. Yeah. It's weird. It's almost your chest burster alien scene, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought it was coming out of his stomach, his stomach, his tum-tum. That's what the doctors call it, seeing as we're going the scientific route. But like, is this better? No, it's not. But it's definitely cool. It's definitely cool, and in a way funnier. But I think it's funny when anything scuttles off. When anything little pops out in a film and it scuttles off, it does underpin the grossness of it for me.
Yeah.
Like anytime, because they did it in so many films, didn't they, after Alien, where something popped out of somebody's body and then was like, and just sort of scuttles off. That's quite funny.
The bit with the defibrillator, that was quite shocking, especially, I mean, I knew it was coming, but the first time you see it.
It's quite shocking.
Yeah. I didn't even know what I said then. Literally and figuratively, yeah. But like, you normally, when you see it in films, you normally see him do it a good few times. This was like the second go. He's like, and hands go in, gets eaten off. It's like,
we've not got time. It's not like, live, damn it, live, and then no, it's just like, boom, yeah.
And what actually happened to Copper? Did he just die because his arms got bit off?
I guess doesn't he just get smaller and smaller? Little bits like a Russian doll. and he just keeps coming in tiny bits. I don't know. Is that him? Is he the guy that's doing the defibrillating? Oh right, sorry. I was thinking of the chest guy.
No.
Oh right, okay. Because I was thinking of him just getting smaller and smaller.
Just body
I'm not
parts
sure.
falling off.
I think he just stays to the side, doesn't he? Kind of. Because they're all kind of just like, keep it away from me, keep it away from me. They all want to be out of it. And MacReady's like literally the only guy trying to deal with it.
Well, you don't see him for the rest of the film, I don't think. So after he gets his arms bitten off, I don't think you see him again. I think he's just pronounced dead. Unless they flamethrower him, I don't know.
I think he gets flame. That's easy for me to say. Flame-throwed. Burnt. But he's... that's all in such a small space as well, isn't it? Which makes it more... I love it when in films like that where they're all like tied to chairs and they're like kind of jumping up and down and moving the chairs out of the way.
Yeah.
It's kind of comical as well. It's like... Yeah. Again, that's a similar... Doesn't that happen in the Hateful... Is it Hateful Eight? I'm sure they all get tied to chairs. I think Kurt Russell's in that as well. But yeah.
Yeah, he is.
And they're kind of trapped in a hut. So,
I think so. It's been a while.
Yeah. It's not like one of my favourite Tarantino films or one that I would even revisit. But actually, there's some similarities there now.
Yeah. I've only watched it once when it came out.
Same. It was only because of the music, obviously using some of the off-cuts of Ennio Morricone's music in that. So yeah, weird. I'm winning the Oscar.
MacReady hypothesizes that Norris thing demonstrated that every part of the thing is an individual life form with its own survival instinct. He proposes testing blood samples from each survivor, but is forced to kill Clark after he lunges at him with a scalpel. He ties everybody down to a chair and...
I jumped ahead again.
Yeah. So he ties everybody down to a chair and he tests their blood using a heated wire to see if there's a reaction. Yeah, this is the probably the most tense scene in the whole movie.
Yeah.
When they're everyone's paranoid, they're all tied down. I think you get this vibe from people where you can't tell if they're not entirely sure. Maybe they don't know if they're the thing, or maybe maybe they are the thing and they just don't want to get found out.
They're doubting themselves. They might be in the early stages of it.
Yeah. Even the people where their blood was fine and they're not, you see the look on their face just before he tests their blood. It's like a, whew, thank God.
Can you imagine like a modern asylum version of this where people, I'm sure someone like Full Moon or Charles Bandel with Full Moon or somebody like that has done like a COVID version of this where you're swabbing your nose and your throat and then putting it in the dropper and then it comes up and then we have to kill that person with a flamethrower. At least that's how we did it in my house anyway. So, yeah.
I'm sorry, 2 lines.
Yeah.
So everyone passes the test except for Palmer, whose blood recoils from the heat. Exposed, the Palmer thing transforms and he breaks free of his bonds and infects Windows, forcing MacReady to incinerate the both of them.
I never heard it put that way, that he infects Windows. I mean, that's the worst, isn't it? Antivirus software and oh my word. Good old. I just love the fact he turned up one day and was just like, call me Windows, and John Carpenter's like, yep, it's in the film. Yeah. This is kind of the sort of the last act now, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I was surprised about Clark, because it turned out he wasn't. He's the guy that lunged at MacReady and he shot him in the head, and he tested his blood later on and he was fine. Yeah,
that's the Han Solo who shot first kind of moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, but he's our hero and he just shot somebody innocent. I think Keith David says something to him along the lines of, well, that's murder then. Like, that's murder. What you've done is murder. And he just kind of dismisses it. Probably because he's been through hell in Vietnam and this is extenuating circumstances and he's not that bothered. He just wants to get out of this alive. But yeah, that's a really interesting scene. It puts that... And again, that's might be why people turn off early on critically. When your hero does things like that, sometimes it stops you loving that hero as fully. But actually, in the long term, that's what you want. You want a conflicted hero. You don't want, kind of Ace Rimmer, like sorting it all out and just kind of, it's a really interesting moment, that though, isn't it?
So John Carpenter was sold on making the film because of this very scene, the blood test scene. Yeah, it's his favourite scene in the movie, this one.
And he loves the film now. He's probably like sort of worrying about his career at the time. Isn't it funny now, because he's just not interested in it now? He's just like, literally, I love people making remakes of my film just because it means I get more money. Like, yeah. He's not interested at all in like. I think he maybe funnels all his creativity into music now. But like then, you could imagine he was just like, I'm on a path. And probably people were telling him, I'm on a path to be the biggest director in the world, like kind of on that Spielberg path. But like, it's nice that he now sees it as one of his favourite films, if not his favourite film.
Yeah, he's just sitting back thinking, yeah, you can make as many Halloween films as you want.
Yeah. And then thinking, oh no, I'm going to have to make lots of Halloween films. Oh yeah. And then like, I like the idea, well, I know this is going off topic, but I like the idea of the Halloween films going in that anthology thing where every film was going to be different, like from 3 onwards. I like that idea, but obviously no, I'm in the minority there. But yeah, it's now around an hour and a half into the film towards an hour and 45, where there's lots of wandering, lots of moving around, lots of walking. Do we need that? Is this a editing thing? Is this the guy who edited Star Trek the Motion Picture? Is this his thing? But like, we need to work to find our main bad guy, I guess. He's not really a bad guy, but he's a bad guy, isn't he? For all intents and purposes. We need that big showdown, don't we?
So what is there, about 5 of them left now?
I think so.
Something like that.
Yeah. I've lost count. I've lost track. I'm probably ahead or behind where you're up to now.
We'll see where this goes.
Yeah.
Childs is left on guard while the others go to test Blair. But they find that he has escaped and has been using vehicle components to assemble a small flying saucer, which they destroy.
It took him ages to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Upon their return, Childs is missing, and the power generator is destroyed, leaving the men without heat. Macready speculates that with no escape left, the thing intends to return to hibernation until a rescue team arrives.
And we're plodding towards the big showdown now, aren't we? So, yeah. There's maybe a bit too much going away and coming back and going away and coming back.
Yeah.
But you have to do that in order for people to disappear and reappear and disappear and reappear. This is your classic, almost like murder mystery again, isn't it? Like people just disappearing and then suspecting different people. And yeah. It's the end for me isn't perfect. I found myself drifting off a little bit. That's probably why I can't keep up with your synopsis. Like, I'm just like, it's time for the showdown now.
See, I've loved it the whole way through, but this little bit here was the part that kind of bothered me. This for the next, 10 minutes or so. Yeah, it got a little bit off the rails because they've just spent all that time doing all the blood tests. And then we finally know 100% everyone there is fine. So what do? They split up into 2s, don't they, or 3s?
Yeah, let's split up.
Yeah, let's split up, and now you're back to square one of not knowing who it is. So, it's a bit of a waste of time, really.
Yeah, it's like we have to split up. This is the only way that we can get to the end of this film.
And obviously, I'm assuming someone would have went to Blair and infected him because they say that the door was opened from the outside. It's like a latch from the outside. So obviously, someone went in to check on him and then assimilated Blair. And then he's built a spaceship out of spare parts. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
It is, considering his fragile mental state as well. When did he start this? Did he start this before they saw the dog at the beginning of the film?
Just a few hours, you can bang out a spaceship.
Somebody from the Norwegian crew emailed him earlier on on the chess computer. It doesn't kind of quite fit that, really, does it? He doesn't seem. Wilford Brimley's not your guy for building spaceships.
No. So, Macready, Gary and Knowles agree that the thing cannot be allowed to escape and set explosives to destroy the station, but the Blair thing kills Gary and Knowles disappears. The Blair thing transforms into an enormous creature and breaks the detonator, but Macready triggers the explosives with a stick of dynamite, destroying the station.
Is where he goes, fuck you too, or is that right near the beginning where he goes into the thing?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Fuck you too. I'm like, yeah, you're the hero.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to have that quote in you right before you fire a stick of dynamite.
It's not like the smartest thing he's ever thought of, but he is under a lot of pressure. It's not like an Arnie line or Buffy the Vampire Slayer line or something, but it gets to the point, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think Arnie, everything he says is a line, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Nice to meet you. Yeah. It might the sort of the standoff at the end, it's quite unresolved, isn't it?
Yeah, because Knowles just walks off, doesn't he?
Yeah. No, I think they're too tired. They're too tired to care at this point. That's what I think it is. It's just like, are you got the have I got the virus? Have you got the? Are you infected? Do you know what? It's okay. We'll deal with it. Bye.
It's been a long day.
It has. And to be fair, they're the two favourite characters. Everyone's two favourite characters, so let's just leave it at that.
It was quite a unique kill from Blair. When Blair puts his hand over Gary's mouth to stop him from shouting, but immediately starts like reacting with his face, like his hand starts like fusing to his face, and it kind of becomes one. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is the effects definitely make it into a different film from sort of your classic thing from another world kind of film. I think even the director of the original said something like, if you want blood, go to a slaughterhouse. And isn't it funny when we watch these films how we keep coming back to the makers of an original film, or the one that inspired the film, or the actor from it, just kind of like, it was good, but it was a bit too disgusting or a bit too violent or a bit too bloody. And those are the bits that we kind of hold on to as the classic 80s-ness of them. Like, we actually love that, you and I. We think that's great, whereas them, the makers of the originals, were a bit like, this would be great if it was a bit more like our films.
What did you make of the giant super thing? It's kind of got like Blair's face and like a dog coming out of him.
Oh, yeah. Is that the one that they designed, I think, based on like a Lovecraft idea? Like, I always say this, like the Cthulhu, the Nyarlathotep or something.
Yeah.
Like, I love all that kind of stuff. I'm not like a big reader of him, and I do like Reanimator, but obviously a bit like Poe in the sense they don't always keep exactly to the stories in the films, because the stories are quite short and the films are quite long. But I like all that kind of weird creature design. So yeah, I love it. I love all that. It sometimes adds to a horror film when they kind of inspire get things from kind of earlier times, whether it's Poe or Lovecraft. That's why Alien, I guess, is so futuristic, because like all that Geiger design is quite modern at the time. So it's almost futuristic because it's not harking back to the past as much as the other horror films did. So yeah, it's fascinating. On a technical level, this is a really, really great film to look at from every perspective.
So Charles returns as Macready sits by the burning remnants, saying he got lost in the storm while pursuing Blair. Exhausted and slowly freezing to death, they acknowledge their futility of their distrust and share a bottle of Scotch whiskey.
They just call it a draw.
Yeah.
Like let's just call it a draw. Yeah.
They're just both totally defeated. They're just like, you know what? Whatever.
Yeah.
Was you happy with the ending? How you don't know?
Yes and no. I think it's a bit slow at the end. I think we're guilty of a little bit of the Star Trek the Motion Picture editing near the end. I think a little bit of plod towards the end. I think it's fine as an ending. It's not as like we've kind of seen some films. We've been spoiled with some films we've seen recently where they just finish at exactly the right moment. And again, that ultimately is director's decision, but there's some editing concerns there, or some editing input. So I don't know. What did you think about the end?
Yeah, I liked it. Like I said, it just before that part, it kind of lost me a little bit, but then it did draw me back with the mega thing. But
yes, that is good.
Yeah, and then that bit where Macready and Charles are sat, talking. I do like that you don't know who it is, and the story doesn't actually tell you, because it leaves you thinking. I would imagine this is what got a lot of the negativity back in the day.
Yeah.
Of people not knowing who it was. But no, I'm glad I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of person you are, doesn't it? I think a lot of people just want to know. Like, they want everything spelled out. And then particularly now. I think we said a bit. I think we may have said this in the last episode. Like, it's there's two ends of it, isn't there? There's like, oh, what happened? Oh, like the sort of the Sopranos end or something, and then you've got like the ones where you literally see every character and how they react to the thing that happened at the end. This is somewhere between the two, I guess, but it isn't explained, is it? What happens next?
No.
But then the end act is quite long compared to, say, The Fly, where everything happens within about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
For me, I lean more towards films like that, because I don't necessarily need a massive resolution of every single thing. I just need something a little bit more powerful and creative. I'm looking for more of a creative end than I am tying up all the knots on everything, because I'm aware I'm watching a film.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah. So some people suspect that it's Child's, and one of the theories from this was because obviously they're out in the cold and you can visually see their breath in the cold wind.
Yeah.
Child's hasn't got any breath coming out of his mouth.
I thought you were going to say it spells out "it's me" or something like that.
No, if you look, Child's he hasn't got any breath that you can see coming out of his mouth. And then you see McCready and he literally looks like a chimney. It's just loads of it, every word.
But don't the dogs and all the other things that are, when they're infected, aren't they breathing? And
I don't know. Can you see their breath? I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like I can with the dog, or maybe I'm just imagining that. I don't know.
It's probably a filming error, but a good theory.
Yeah. I don't. Nobody will have thought of that, will they? Except for the person who came up with that theory.
Yeah. Whether John Carpenter had it in his mind at the time and did it on purpose, I don't think we'll ever know.
No.
So yeah, that's wrapping up The Thing from 1982. So,
awesome.
Rating it from 1 to 10, walking spider heads.
Oh, okay, right. All right, walking spider heads. Yeah, little scuttling creatures. I think we may have mentioned this off when we weren't recording, but about the Pingu version of The Thing, or as you said to me, like Fingu.
Fingu.
If you go onto YouTube and you Google Pingu and The Thing, it's amazing. I was going to say, like, this is 8 Pingus, 8 Pingus out of 10, but I guess now you could say 8 Fingus out of 10. But what did you say? Scuttling?
Walking spider heads.
Yeah, so let's just stick with that. So 8 walking spider heads out of 10 for me. Technically brilliant. Acting was great. Visually wonderful. This might be my highest score I've given a film so far. If you like your sci-fi horror with a bit more horror than a bit less sci-fi, I guess, then this is for you.
Awesome.
Also, cool poster as well. The Drew Struzan version of the poster is amazing, and he did that in 24 hours, which is pretty out of this world.
Yeah, I think we've been very consistent with our ratings on movies. Everything we've rated so far, we've always been 1 point out. I've always been one higher, and this is going to be the same today. I've rated this 9 walking spider heads out of 10.
Nice.
This is definitely up there in my top favourite films of all time. What's not to like, really? I mean, amazing special effects. In my own opinion, these visual effects are undefeated. You know, especially the defibrillator scene and the walking spider heads. You know, they're just great practical effects. You couldn't ask for more. I've learnt things whilst reviewing this, and it's only made my love for it stronger. I think it's a solid film. The only reason I didn't give it a 10 out of 10 was no particular fault of its own. I just thought the fact that sci-fi horror was already a thing, you know, with Alien being 3 years prior and a little bit of nitpicky things here and there, them splitting up and, you know, little little things, and it kind of diving down towards the end, but it did pick back up. But yeah. That bumped it down one for me. I mean, it's pretty hard to get a 10 out of 10 movie. I mean, I think unless it's like a game changer in the horror genre, like creating a new subgenre, that in my opinion is like a 10 out of 10 worthy film. So yeah, I'm giving this 9 out of 10 walking spider heads.
Well, that's awesome on it, because I think I totally, obviously I gave it 8. I do think it's a great film, but I understand why anyone would be looking at 9s and 10s for this film. Like, I totally get that. Particularly for me, I think it even was a bit higher once I placed it in the idea of John Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy. That's what I was trying to remember earlier on. So you like Prince of Darkness, Mouth of Madness, and The Thing. When you put all 3 of those together, that's a really good triple bill. My favourite, Mouth of Madness, I just think it's so good. Just the satirical edge related to consumers of books and horror and Stephen King, and it's just great. So those 3 together almost made me, in retrospect, move it from like a 7 to an 8. If I was thinking about what John Carpenter film would I give 9, I would go for Assault on Precinct 13, which I think every film he's done, maybe not Elvis one, which is not a bad film, I would be looking 7s and 8s. He's very consistent, or certainly in the up until the mid 90s, he's consistently excellent, isn't he?
Yeah.
Which is, what a run. Like, people, like, he could retire off one of those films in the sense of like critically, and maybe not financially, but he probably could off Halloween because of the amount of money he makes from every time they do a new one. But yeah, what a run! Like, those films, they're like Starman. Like, nobody mentions Starman. That Jeff Bridges film is so good. But yeah, what a run! What a director! So between us, we've given him some really high scores.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Cool. Right, should we jump into some trivia? I think we got a lot.
Yeah, I'm going to cut my trivia down just so that I can be dazzled by yours.
I've already cut mine down. I think I've got about 6 bits of trivia here.
Yeah, I just tried to choose things that I thought were a bit weird or unusual, because there's so many fascinating features of the making of this film, whether it be alternative casting or different things like that. I've just got a couple of things, so yeah. Hit me.
Trivia. Oh yeah!
So, production began in the mid-1970s as a faithful adaptation of the novella Who Goes There by John W. Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
The Thing went through several directors and writers, each with different ideas on how they could approach the story. Filming lasted roughly 12 weeks, beginning in August 1981. And John Carpenter has stated that this is his personal favourite out of all the movies he's done.
Yeah, that's something, as I was doing my research, I was like, that's pretty cool that he's able to come back. Because sometimes when you have a bad experience critically, you lose that love for a film. But he's obviously gone, no, it was, I'm really proud of what we did. Because obviously it's a collaborative process, isn't it? There's lots of people involved in it.
I didn't include this in my notes for the trivia, but I do remember one of the directors that was going to do it was Tobe Hooper.
Yeah.
And I don't think his ideas were greatly appreciated.
No, he was the first choice.
I can't remember why, but he changed it quite drastically. I don't think it was like a shapeshifter type alien. I think it was something else.
I think he thought they were going to try and force him into doing a kind of remake of the 50s one. It'd be a bit boring.
Oh, right.
When I think Hollywood saw him certainly as the protege of Spielberg and kind of going in that direction, his mind didn't really work like that. He's more like Life Force and Texas Chainsaw, and I think he was kind of being pulled in 2 different directions. So it's interesting that it's such a quintessential John Carpenter movie, but he wasn't even the first choice. So it's like, obviously, it's John Carpenter's first proper major studio film.
Yeah.
So he did really, obviously it would have been nice for it to make 150 million, but then maybe his later films would have been completely different if it did. So from our point of view, it's good that it wasn't a massive mega hit.
It's become a tradition in British Antarctic research stations to watch The Thing as a part of their midwinter feast celebration held every June 21st.
Wow.
That's a pretty cool celebration.
Yeah, I think that's really fun. I think that's really fun to like... I like tying films in with sort of periods of time or events and different things. I used to try and get people to watch certain films at certain times. Like, wouldn't it be good if people watched, like, when they moved house, they watched The Room? Obviously, that's not about moving house. It's and it's not all set in one room. Anyway, let's not go down that rabbit hole. But, like, if certain events in life fit certain films. Yeah. Like I was obviously Halloween films, it's easy at Halloween to watch loads of Halloween films. I always try and watch Halloween 3 at Halloween every time. I know some people like watching Trick or Treat. There's a million different choices, just AN scary movie. But yeah, let's up that. Let's like watch films at certain events. And I like the fact it's almost like an initiation for the people when they go. They have to go and watch it. Mm-hmm. And then they start doubting each other.
The film is considered a benchmark in special effects makeup. The effects were created by Rob Bottin, who was only 22 years old when he started the project. I think you touched on that earlier. He was only 22. That's really young.
Yeah, really impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to do that. Oh, I won't be able to do that now at 43. But, but yeah, it's not about age, I guess. But
that is crazy though. 22 years old and he can do the effects from The Thing. Like, I'd like to know like what age he was when he started and when he started getting good.
Yeah, he'll be one of those sort of Spielberg-esque people who was like making films and doing stuff in like when he was like 5 years old in his bedroom or whatever. Doing his Dawson's Creek thing.
1.5 million was spent on Rob Bottin's creature effects, a mixture of chemicals, food products, rubber, and mechanical parts turned by his large team into an alien capable of taking on any form.
Wow. So, like, that's a tenth of the budget.
Yeah.
If my maths is correct. So that's I think I read that that's the most that a film had spent on special effects.
Oh really?
At that point. So it just shows you it's paid off in the long run, and probably crying and tearing their hair out at the studio at the time, but ultimately it works because it's so good, and it doesn't date. When it's that good, it's like we've said about a lot of these 80s films, it doesn't date.
No. Yeah, the last thing I've got is it's not really trivia. It's more of a practical joke. But one day after shooting a scene with the flamethrower, Kurt Russell pulled a joke on John Carpenter where he covered his whole face and head in bandages, claiming that he got seriously burnt by the flamethrower.
Oh, hilarious.
Yeah.
He's thinking, oh, that's it. My career's over. Oh, yeah. Kurt. You silly sausage. Yeah. It's a funny one, that, and not funny, haha, but like, maybe they were all going a little bit stir crazy. Like, people do weird stuff on film sets, I guess. There's probably been worse, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I have one bit of trivia.
Okay.
So the character who dies of a heart attack, Vance Norris's character, which you might be able to remind me, he died of a heart attack in real life.
Oh, damn.
So, yeah, just thought I'd say that, cheer everybody up. There's my fun bit of happy-go-lucky trivia. But yeah, it's not like a curse of the film or anything. It's like nobody is assimilated into a dog and been burnt to death by a flamethrower. There's just that one. And just that one.
Wow. Norris. Norris was it?
Norris. Yeah.
Norris. Oh, wow.
So, that was my bit of trivia.
Do you think maybe the doctors were a bit scared to use a defibrillator?
Well, no, they just let him die.
Just in case.
Poor guy, R.I.P. It's unlikely that any of his family are listening, but yeah, I'm sorry about that. Sorry for your loss. So, have you got a top 3 off the top of your head? Sort of John Carpenter, or
what, movies? Well, this is definitely my top favourite John Carpenter.
Okay.
Second, I would probably put Christine. I really like Christine.
I like the book. I've read the book and I've seen the film once, so yeah. I maybe need to rewatch it at some point.
Number 3. It's a toss-up between Halloween and Escape from New York.
Oh, wow, isn't it amazing we can come up with a completely different list?
Really?
And still, and they're all still great films. That just shows you, like, none of those films that you chose I don't like.
Yeah.
It's too good.
I'll probably say Escape from New York, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, they're my top 3. Why? What are yours? Completely different films.
Yeah. So mine are not John Carpenter. No. Assault from Precinct 13, The Fog number 2, and In the Mouth of Madness number 3. I did have Halloween in there. It's kind of they're in and around there. The Thing is in and around there. Big Trouble in Little China. All of them really. I'm not a massive fan of Escape from New York, although I do prefer it to the sequel. But yeah, I suppose the horror one, my top horror one, would be The Fog. But yeah, Assault on Precinct 13, which isn't really horror, but it is awesome.
I think there's a lot of Halloween fans getting really angry right now.
Yeah, and I'm just like, screw you guys, like, get into Halloween 3. That's where it's at. Yeah.
Cool.
It's just like if we ever do Jason and I'm just banging on about Jason X and how amazing it is. People will be like, no. Yeah, he's amazing. Sleeping Bag Jason. Yeah.
Oh dear. Right. That's it for the trivia. Yep. So we'll finish off like we always do with a quick game. We're going back now to the Rotten Tomatoes game.
Oh, my favourite. My specialist subject.
Oh yeah, you're good at this one, aren't you? So the rules are, I'll pin the Thing's Rotten Tomatoes score against other movies, and you got to tell me which one has the highest Rotten Tomatoes score. So the Rotten Tomatoes score for the Thing was 84%. So John Carpenter will stick with the theme. Christine, do you reckon has a higher or lower score?
Okay, so we've established that I have no understanding of how Rotten Tomatoes works. So I'm going to say lower. Lower.
Yeah, you are correct.
Yeah, boy.
Do you want to take a guess on how lower? From
is
84?
It in the 60s?
No, it's a little higher.
Oh, okay. 72.
Oh, nearly 71.
Damn it. I get an extra bonus point if I get it right on the head.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah. Sure game.
Just making it up as I go along. So, American Psycho, higher or lower than 84?
Okay, so I think critically people liked American Psycho. But I'm going to go lower again.
You would be correct.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a guess at that one?
So like 78?
No.
Oh.
It's 68.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought that one would have been a lot higher than that.
Yeah, I thought people liked it at the time. Not necessarily audiences, but critics, It was kind of like the height of Bret Easton Ellis being like cool, or seen to be cool. Certainly by people of my age at the time. If you were in your 20s around that time, you'd be like, yeah, I'll read all his books. So yeah, That surprises me.
Cool. All right, 2 for 2 so far.
Okay.
So back to John Carpenter. Escape from New York. Higher or lower than 84%?
I'm still going lower.
Ooh, you're wrong.
Oh, damn it. I only went on that because it's not one of my favourite ones.
It's actually higher at 86%.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. It's got a lot going for it, hasn't it? Stylistically, musically, it's fun. It moves around a lot. It's probably a bit snappier and a bit easier to get into than The Thing.
Yeah, you got Snake Plissken with his eye patch.
I thought he was dead.
Oh, and plus the fact that Adrian Barbeau is in it.
Yeah, that gets you an extra couple of points for you.
I'll get up a few. Okay, next one. The Shining. Higher or lower than 84%?
Okay. So, if this was Stephen King giving the score, it'd be much lower. But it's me, so trying to work it out. So I'm going to say lower again.
Yeah, it is lower. Only just, though, by 82%.
Right. Oh, okay.
Only 2% lower. All right, this one, I specifically put this one in just for you, because you're going on and on about it. Malignant.
Yes!
Higher or lower than 84%?
Lower. Because nobody liked it except me. No, like 50% of the people who watched it liked it.
You are absolutely correct. It is lower.
Is it dead on 50?
No, it's not 50. It's got a bit more going for it than that.
Okay, good.
It's 76%.
All right. Some people, they've got good taste. It's a good film.
And to end up on another one of your favourites, Night of the Living Dead. Higher or lower than 84%?
It should be lower. I like that for me is spoiler if we ever do it. But that for me is like a 10 out of 10 film. So I'm going to go, it is Night of the Living Dead is higher.
Yeah, you would be correct.
Woo!
Do you want to guess how high?
Oh, 100%. No. 93%.
It's actually higher than that.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
96%.
Yes. There you go, John Russo. John Russo and Russ Streiner and obviously George Romero. Lovely men. Well, I've only met two. I met two of them. Obviously, I didn't meet George Romero, sadly. Not around and met him. But the two producers and one of them is an actor. Just lovely, lovely fellas to talk to. And I would love to have told them that they got nearly 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. And then I go, what's Rotten Tomatoes? No. Yeah, that is awesome. What a great way to finish.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Is there anything you want to add before we wrap up?
I think we've covered about 10% of everything we could talk about with this film, but hopefully we've had fun doing it. Thank you for this assignment. I'm going to be interesting to see if your scores were as high when the films that I've selected as well, or ones that I love. And yeah, whether it'll be like I'm 1 point higher than you on all of them.
Yeah. Next week's going to be an interesting one because we're doing your favourite, well, one of your favourites, Host.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. I was hoping you were going to say that. Yeah, Host.
Yeah, Host.
Right.
Yeah, I've not seen that one, so that's going to be going to be an interesting episode.
I can't wait for you to watch it and probably hate it. No, at least it's short. If you don't like it, at least it's short.
Yeah. Cool. All right then, man.
All right, take care.
If you've liked today's episode, be sure to go and like us on Facebook. That's where we announce what episode we'll be doing next, as well as each month we do a themed poll pick where you get to choose what you want us to watch. We'd like to hear from you, so please feel free to give us a comment or send us a message, or you could even email us at allthingshorror666@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
I'll do some scary movie.
Like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you. Killer, Mommy. Killer.
We all go a little mad sometimes.